This is Starrapter, and welcome to my recap of Thrawn Ascendency Greater Good, written by Timothy Zahn. In this recap, I'll go over the major events that happen in the novel. Warning, this will include spoilers. Greater Good is the second book in the Ascendency Trilogy. Just like in the previous book, Chaos Rising, this story is centered in the unknown regions known to its people as the Chaos. Yiv the Benevolent, leader of the Nikardun Dynasty and enemy of the Chiss Ascendency, has been captured thanks to Thrawn. Thrawn is given a mission by his people, the Chiss, to track down the remnants of the Nikardun Dynasty. The first battle that takes place involves Admiral Arlani, Captain Thrawn, and Captain Lakinda easily handling some of the remnant Nikardun. After the battle, Thrawn, who commands the Springhawk vessel, is ordered to go to the planet Rapak. In Chaos Rising, Thrawn had been to this planet when he met Yiv the Benevolent. Since the fall of the Nikardun Dynasty, the Pak leader, Yingali, has commandeered one of the Nikardun ships. Yingali has a problem that he could use help with. Refugees have come from a world ravaged by civil war seeking shelter. The leader of these newcomers is named Magus. After realizing that her people are supposedly all dead, she wants the survivors to join the Beyond. Joining the Beyond would require the Magus and all her people to commit suicide. According to the Magus, in joining the Beyond, their spirits would help nourish the planet for future visitors to settle. Thalius, the caregiver aboard the Springhawk, was instrumental in communicating with the Magus. Thrawn's mission is now to go back to her planet and discover if there are any survivors left. Survivors would signify life could persist for the Magus's people, dissuading her people from committing mass suicide. Meanwhile, Admiral Arlani and Captain Lakinda continue their hunt for the remnant of the Nikardun Dynasty. They arrive at a system where they expect to find Nikardun, but they have been destroyed recently by an unknown force. They then receive new orders for Thrawn to return to Scylla, the capital of the Chiss Ascendency. However, Thrawn is out of range, far out in the chaos. Arlani sends Lakinda, who commands the Grey Shrike, to have her relay the message to Thrawn. Back on Scylla, Thurfian has been promoted to High Syndic, an important position in the government. Thurfian has been trying to undermine Thrawn for a while now because he believes Thrawn could bring ruin to their family, the Myth. Thurfian's plan is to artificially create trouble for Thrawn far out in the chaos so he can't intervene with any of the Chiss affairs. We are introduced to new characters on the planet of Selwis. This planet is part of the Chiss Ascendency and the homeworld of the Zodlok and the Kadoyu houses. Both are part of the 40 Great Houses, a step down from the 9 ruling families. A councilor of the Zodlok family, Lakuviv, accepts a freighter full of aliens for a temporary stay. A mid-ager Chiss introduces himself as Yaponik, member of the Kadoyu family. The other major character that came along on the freighter is named Haplif the Agbi. Haplif and his people are described as having red and white folded skin, black eyes, and a lipless mouth. Haplif is actually undercover on a mission for the mysterious character Jixtus. Jixtus appeared at the end of Chaos Rising and is seeking to bring an end to the Chiss from within. Haplif has spent several months prior to arriving on Selwis learning about the Chiss Ascendency from Yaponik. Haplif possesses telepathy and uses that ability to understand people's needs, which helps guide them. Haplif and the dozens that came on the freighter are given permission to settle on farmland owned by Lakfro. Despite orders from Councilor Lakuviv, Lakfro still does not like how Haplif is using his land, even if it's only temporary. Over several weeks, Haplif is able to use his telepathy, specifically on Councilor Lakuviv, to sway him. Back aboard the Springhawk, Thrawn arrives at the Magus's planet, which is still intact. However, the planet does have large scorch marks across the surface from bombing runs. Suddenly, the Springhawk is ambushed by 15 gunships. Thrawn does his best to fend off the gunships, but then a battle dreadnought shows up after being hidden on the other side of the planet. Luckily, this is when Lakinda shows up to deliver Thrawn the message from the fleet. She decides to stay and aid Thrawn, even though the odds aren't good for them. Through sound tactics, Thrawn and Lakinda are able to inflict massive damage to the dreadnought, but it escapes into hyperspace before they can get to it. As it leaves, it destroys its disabled gunships, leaving Thrawn with no clue as to who these enemies are. When Thrawn and Lakinda return to Scylla, they are given their new assignments. Thrawn is to go to Patatis to shut down rumored Vigari pirate activity. Lakinda and Admiral Arlani are to return to the Magus's planet, which Thrawn named Sunrise, to see if there are any survivors planetside. When Thrawn gets to Patatis, he is greeted by a blockade of ships that aren't friendly. Thrawn has been to this planet recently with Arlani when they had to put down their uprising. Thrawn is able to figure out that the people of the Patatis are actually being controlled by the Nikardun. One of their own ships in the blockade is being controlled by the Nikardun. Through secret communications with the Patatis using fake lasers, Thrawn is able to figure out this hidden ship. Through precise engagements, the Patatas assist in helping destroy the hidden Nikardun. Thrawn is then able to get the coordinates from the Patatas to the Vigari pirates. When Lakinda and Ar'alani arrive at sunrise, they notice a strange asteroid is now orbiting the planet. Lakinda analyzes the asteroid while Ar'alani engages the same battle dreadnought that was there from when Thrawn visited. Lakinda is able to identify that the asteroid is artificial and hiding a massive missile. She is able to neutralize the missile and then aids Ar'alani with the dreadnought. They inflict critical damage to the battle dreadnought, but before they can capture it, it destroys the asteroid's missile and self-destructs. Again, the Chiss are left with a dead end on these secret enemies. Lakinda is then instructed by the military council to assist Thrawn in his hunt for the Vigari pirates. Back on Selwys, the farmer Lakfro has become more and more suspicious of Haplif. Haplif has been giving out brooches to high-ranking officials such as Councillor Lakaviv. However, his daughter is given one as well. After some thought, Lakfro takes his daughter's brooch and sends it to be analyzed by his cousin. This metal turns out to be Nyax, which is an extremely valuable metal that is used in Chiss warships. Lakfro's cousin will pass on the brooch to Thrawn, knowing that he could use it to unravel this mystery. Haplif has told the Councillor Lakaviv that his people can make the brooches easily with access to a large mine. The Councillor's aid is taken to the mine on the planet Hoxim by Kalori the Pathfinder. Kalori is in league with Jixis as we've seen at the end of Chaos Rising. The Councillor believes that having access to the Nyax on Hoxim would elevate the Zodlik family back to one of the ruling families. Haplif explains that they should use their own ships to defend the mine. The problem is that the Zodlik family's own cruisers have been understaffed since they were demoted from the ruling families. Haplif is able to slightly nudge the urgency in Lakaviv to initiate a family emergency order. This order allows any lesser family to pull their own family personnel from the Chiss Expansionary Defense Fleet. Bolstering their personnel would allow them to occupy their understaffed ships. Pulling all these forces would allow Lakaviv to defend the Naya-rich world and bring glory back to the Zodlik family. As Lakinda is rearming her ship on Scylla in preparation for her mission for Thrawn, she receives the brooch that Lakfro sent out. She also receives a family emergency order for anyone in the Zodlok family to report for duty at Selwys. She leaves the brooch with Mid-Captain Apros to deliver the item when he goes to rendezvous with Thrawn. She then goes to Selwys to captain a dormant ship there. Lakaviv wants no crew to answer any outside communication from the Chiss or otherwise during their operation. Thrawn follows the coordinates from the Patatas and comes across a freighter being attacked by some gunboats. He is able to defend the gunboats, and the pilot of the freighter, Seer, is relieved. Seer then leads Thrawn to the pirate base. It turns out that there is no pirate base and Thrawn is ambushed. Mid-Captain Apros does get there in time with the Grey Strike to assist Thrawn in the fight. Thrawn figures out that the freighter was remotely controlling several drones, but Thrawn was able to disable and capture them. Seer explains to Thrawn that his job was just to tie up Thrawn. He claims that the person who hired him was cloaked in darkness. Some of Thrawn's crew on the Springhawk also received orders, but some weren't Zodlik. The Regiel and the Pomereux families received similar orders as well. Thrawn receives the brooch from Lakfro and begins to make connections. He has the Magus look at the brooch, who confirms that our people from Sunrise created them. Sunrise is the planet with the Nyax, not Hoxim. The Chiss families had been deceived into believing they were the only ones who knew about the Nyax. The three families are now at Hoxim, all wanting the mine for themselves, and they'll fight each other if they have to. Each of these houses is connected to one of the 9 ruling families. This conflict could drive the Chiss Ascendency into a civil war, exactly what Haplif and Jixis were coordinating. When Thrawn gets to the planet, he has a way of diffusing the conflict. He pretends that the Springhawk is being under attack by pirates. Instead of the Chiss fighting each other, they band together to save one of their own from the pirates. Thrawn is using the captured drones from Seer as the fake pirates. He is then able to launch Seer's captured freighter down towards the fake mine. He uses Skywalker Cheery to use the Force to nudge the freighter into a couple of the drones. This collision sends the vessels down into the fake mine, destroying it. The positioning was so precise that it hides Thrawn's involvement. With the fake mine destroyed, the three families realize that there is nothing worth fighting each other for, and they disperse. Crisis has been averted among the Chiss. Back on Selwys, Lakfro confronts Haplif after figuring out that he's orchestrated the conflict. He ends up killing Haplif, but the rest of Haplif's people are able to escape on their freighter. Jixis is disappointed that Haplif died and reveals to Caloris that Haplif is actually a Grisk. Jixis then gives Caloric his next mission, which is to find out exactly how the Chiss are able to navigate the chaos so adeptly. Finally, the end of the book has High Syndic Thurfian being promoted to Patriarch of the Myth, making him one of the most powerful people in the Chiss Ascendency. This will make stirring up trouble even easier for him when it comes to Thrawn. Also included throughout Greater Good are memory chapters that focus on Haplif and his corruption of the mid-ager Chiss Yaponik. These chapters start a few months before the events of Greater Good and build up to the moment that we see Haplif meeting Counselor Lakavuv for the first time. So there you have it, that's the rundown of what happens in Greater Good. What do you think will happen to the Chiss Ascendency in the final book of the trilogy Lesser Evil? Well, we don't have to wait long as it's coming out this November. Also let me know what you thought about the video in the comment section down below. For more on Star Wars books and much more, be sure to subscribe to this channel. That's gonna do it for me, Starrapter. Thank you so much for watching, and may the Force be with you always. Thanks for checking out the video. Please hit that thumbs up symbol. It helps me know that I'm making content that you guys enjoy. And if you enjoyed this video, I also include 2 videos down below you guys should check out. And please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps support me and it notifies you guys of when I get new videos up on the channel. You can also contact me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Starrapter.